Hello, welcome to this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue, where today we are doing something that we've never done before, and that is to bring you our last show. This is the last one that will be aired on KTBC TV, and we're looking forward to sharing with you some of the highlights from time past. Stay with us.
This is Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs program discussing the important crossroad of religion in life, produced by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues throughout our area. Now, today's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition.
And I'm Sandy Wilder of Houston Tillotson College. Also glad to be here today.
And we're here today to share with you some of the remembrances of our program since 1988, when Austin Faith Dialogue first came on the air on Channel 7. The station is needing this time for some other purposes, and so today we're using the time to just look back and reflect upon what it is that this particular interfaith religious series has brought to the Austin metropolitan area. And we're going to have some taped highlights for you in just a moment.
Well, now, Rich, you've been with the program since the very beginning. I wonder if you can say a little something about what the founders had in mind when they started Austin Faith Dialogue.
Well, I think what we had in mind, Sandy, was that never before in the history of the city had there been an ecumenical interfaith public affairs program. I had been in Chicago before coming as pastor of a local church here, and while there had worked with the Chicago Council of Churches on interfaith broadcasting. And when I came to Austin, I looked around and said to various ones, is this a possibility here? And this station very graciously said, yes, that would meet our community issues and public service needs. So that's how it originally started.
What a great idea. Now we've got, before we get to some more questions, we've got a couple of clips here to show the wide variety of programming that Austin Faith Dialogue has done over the past several years. Let's take a look at some of that.
Good.
Dr. Mack, sometimes people will say that if you go to a small college, you're forfeiting academic excellence. I know you would strongly disagree with that. So how would you say Houston Tillotson counteracts that?
Well, on the contrary, the emphasis on excellence, on quality, is the foundation of our academic program. Although related to the United Methodist Church and the United Church of Christ, similarly, the majority of our students are members of neither denomination. We have a significant presence of Methodist students, but we also have AMEs, CMEs, AME Zions. In addition to members of the United Church of Christ, we have a strong presence of Catholic students. The majority of our students are Baptists, and a significant presence of Muslim students. And as our enrollment of Asian students grows, we have a growing number of Buddhists. So the kind of emphasis on a multi-faith community, a multicultural community, a multi-ethnic community, I think is rather typical of each of our institutions. But the emphasis on quality in education is what I think undergirds our program. And with an emphasis on providing an environment where faith and learning and issues of those of faith and learning can be addressed in the academic community in a non-proselytizing way, in an open way, I think is what makes the educational environment work.
The need for religion internationally to face the fact of drawing upon the wisdoms of what they are, and is there any commonality at the same time showing this diversity? And they've wanted to come out with a statement, and hence a lot of the controversiality of the event was around that particular statement.
And that statement was called
Toward a Global Ethic.
Okay.
It was written in preparation by Hans Kung, who is a very well-known international theologian from Germany. And it was intended, if possible, but they didn't know how this was going to work out, to be a global ethics statement of the religions gathered, if they could arrive at that. And what they really arrived at was saying there is a spiritual crisis as well as an economic crisis, as well as a environmental, and the whole series, and that they were working towards addressing that and call the world religions to do it.
What did you bring away from it as you read it?
I felt it's like going through the Ten Commandments, reading the Ten Commandments, of having something unite all religions together.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really empowered by reading this because it got me more involved in different religions. I got educated in reading about other religions and what they are and what they represent. It made me get closer to them. And now it's like helping others understand more about other religions will help us all unite and work together towards a better environment, better world, and, you know, just harmony and living together.
It is but a woman's way, I said. He that is so tender and loveth us so much, is not this the mother's part? And he that hath made both man and woman, doth he not possess the qualities of each? As the song is in the bird, and as in the seed is hidden the flower's color, is there not tenderness and womankind hidden in our Maker? And in thee, God's priest, is there not tenderness? I say Christ our mother because it is the mother who best shows love. As the flower shows color and the sea and storm power, it is but an image, for how else may we speak? How else put what is inside outside?
Ghanaians are extremely family-oriented. They take a lot of pride in their children. They name days. They name their children after certain days of the week.
Oh, wonderful.
There is a National Commission for Children that is established in Ghana. And this film, I think, will communicate back to Ghanaians, I think, that aspect of what we try to do here that I think they most value, which is love of children, respect for children, and a sharing of culture with children.
Okay. Let's turn to our videotape and let's see the performances that were given to us by our Ghanaian friends here in Austin.
The children in Austin, I believe, live in an environment, it seems, that is a rather tolerant one. And it's also an environment, I think, where people encourage new ideas. I believe you would find to a person in Ghana a great love of children. They don't find children bothersome. As a matter of fact, I think they see the promise in youth. And in that promise, they want to affect it so that people here so that children here are inspired by the things that they have to offer.
What a great variety of shows over these years. That's fun. Well, now, Rich, now that we've seen the wide variety of shows, what did the planners have in mind? What were they trying to do with Austin Faith Dialogue?
Well, there's been, since the beginning, a sense that we've had four purposes to, in terms of programs that dealt with faith traditions, programs that dealt with social issues, pastoral issues, and then the arts. And none of those had really been surfaced in the Austin community and consciousness until we came along with the kinds of shows that you just saw. And for instance, you found that faith traditions very well illustrated in that discussion about the World Parliament of Religions. And at last count, I saw that we've done 20 different faith traditions over the nearly 9 years that we've been on the air. And in the 400-plus shows that we've done, we've hit a number of social issues, as you might expect. This past year, we did one on the camping ban, the City Council's decision in terms of the homeless not being able to continue downtown, and we had Jackie Goodman on with that. Each time there's been an election, we've had the mayor and the new City Council people come on and talk about the interface with the religious community. We've had quite a bit about the state legislature being here in Austin, the capital city, and Texas Impact, which is the advocacy group for human services, has each time we've come on and say, is anything different than from last time as far as the continuing crisis in human services issues. We've had a series on ecology, the National Wildflower Center. We highlighted just last month, and earlier on we had David Northington, the director of that, with us. When the Branch Davidian compound exploded, a national issue, we were there to give local commentary on that since it was so near to us here in Austin. And then there have been the series of programs on pastoral issues, death and dying, how to cope with grief, the resources in the community, in the religious community particularly in regard to that. We've had a number of programs about ministry with gays and lesbians, that aspect of this community, which is of course part of every community, but I think a relationship with special sensitivity here in Austin. Keith Miller, who was the author of a number of books about pastoral issues, was a guest of ours twice, particularly on matters of chemical dependency, and I think his show got as many comments almost as any that we've done. We did one on ministry with the deaf community, the churches that have that particular offering. And I think that the ministry with children has been a special favorite of mine. There was one on teen suicide, especially poignant. We had youngsters from Kids Acting to show us how they found through their theatrical work meaning to their life, as well as skills that they wouldn't have developed otherwise. And then, of course, there are the arts. I have to confess to you that this has been a special favorite of mine to work on. Just this year, we had a program on quilting and the making of a religious quilt, and how this is so common throughout the Austin area as well as the nation, of people getting together that, as they say, you can't have an out-of-buddy experience because you do quilting together. We had a program on faith and jazz. One of the best musical groups in town came and demonstrated how that grew out of a religious context. Chuck Meyer, the vice president over at St. David's and chaplain there at one time, did his television rendition of The Saints of God Murders, which was a murder mystery that he wrote that's gotten some national play, as a matter of fact. But the novels, the written literature in Austin that has religious significance is just teeming, and we were glad to give Chuck a particular play on that. We had the Gutenberg Bible featured. One of 5 Gutenberg Bibles in the nation is at the University of Texas. And early on we did a show about that.
Well, it sounds like it's almost hard for you to pick a favorite show out of all these years.
Yeah.
Say a little bit about the relationship of the show to its parent body, Austin Metropolitan Ministries, which helped get it launched.
Good. Well, AMM has been our sponsor with the cooperation of the station, and we've done programs on mentoring, the outreach to young juvenile offenders, hands-on housing, which has been the way of redeveloping dilapidated homes, and congregations pitching in on that. The annual Thanksgiving service that we recently had, we've highlighted each year, and this is the only community celebration at Thanksgiving time, and AMM does a very special, make a contribution in that regard.
So part of the purpose then of Austin Faith Dialogue has been to highlight the work of this interfaith organization which already exists.
Right, right.
What difference has participating in Austin Faith Dialogue meant for your life? We've got a little bit of time here before the break.
Well, it's been an expression of ministry that for some reason I felt a call to do, and found a receptivity to that, and found fulfillment in that. When I'm interviewing folks on the show each week, like you're doing with me now, they say, well, why are you doing it? Oftentimes I say, well, because of the joy of being able to give creative expression to what's happening in the religious community in a way that would never be done otherwise. So it's with a real sense of service as well.
So it's a 20th century kind of ministry then, branching out in a different way from being in the pulpit.
Well, yes, and I think as we go into the 21st century, the churches, the congregations, the religious community that will be viable is going to be very closely connected to media. And I think we can talk about that a little bit more in the second half.
I think we should do that. That's right. Okay. Thanks, Rich. Stay with us. We'll be back for the second half of Austin Faith Dialogue in just a minute.
Serving Austin means serving you. That has always been the primary goal of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. We are religion in action through the work of these organizations. Each plays a key role in making the capital city a better place to live, but we can't do it alone. Do you have some spare time, talents, or any resources that you can share? If you do, please call AMM at 472-7627, because serving Austin means serving you.
We're here talking with Sandy Wilder, that's me, and Rich Thompson, two of us who've been longtime hosts of Austin Faith Dialogue, about the end of the show here on KTBC, taking a look at the last 8-9 years in production. Rich, I wonder if you have any other thought about how Austin Faith Dialogue has made a difference to you, or perhaps a difference to the Austin community.
Well, I have been more recently involved in what's been called the media literacy movement, as it applies to the religious community, of helping people become aware of the impact of media in their lives, and particularly in their faith experience. And early on we had a program on televangelism, which is an obvious relation between religion and the media. But more recently we've done things on children and television, violence and television. And we're going to continue to offer this up through AMM, Austin Metropolitan Ministries, as something that's available to the religious community. And as this program has opportunity to continue on another station, we'll come back to that as an ongoing emphasis.
Good, good. We look forward to that.
And Sandy, you've been one of our hosts over the 9-year period. Let's have a little turnaround here, and let me ask you what it is that you've benefited from and enjoyed as part of your experience with us.
The benefit for me has been the opportunity to explore topics that have piqued my curiosity, and also to get to know people in Austin who are doing exciting, creative things, growing out of their faith commitment, whatever that faith commitment happens to be. Some folks working with a particular project, some working as individuals on an issue of interest to them.
Okay, and any particular programs that come to mind that express that or exemplify that?
The opportunity to talk with people of widely differing interests, but of a national stature, were particularly important to me, exemplified by two programs, one done with United Methodist bishops about a year and a half ago when they happened to be meeting here in town. That gave me an opportunity to talk with bishops from around the world, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity but for Austin Faith Dialogue and sharing their story here. The other, an opportunity to talk with a scholar from the University of Florida who's done a lot of work on African spirituality. And again, because he was in town for a conference and because the show existed, gave me an opportunity to visit with him and share his story with a larger audience.
I have to say that in terms of people coming in from out of town, one of the great thrills for me was when Bill Moyers was here in 1990 to premiere his Amazing Grace PBS production, and we were able to interview him and highlight that for folks in a very special way.
It is a rare opportunity. And let me, before we end here today, be sure that we mention some of the other folks who've helped make the show possible.
Okay.
Behind the scenes, we've had a number of producers: Roger Lotz, Tracy Poe, Eric Leahy, Steve Ross, the producer even who's helping us today, Dick Miner.
And Dick, I think I
just
see
appeared
Dick
in the studio
here as a kind of epiphany.
Right.
And he's worked with us right from the beginning, and I think it's especially appropriate that we recognize his volunteer efforts.
That's right. This many years of commitment.
Okay. Dick Miner, who is about to be seen, I think, right there. Dick, thank you so much.
For all your years.
You've been...
I've enjoyed it.
That's good. Well, we've certainly been privileged to have worked with you and with all of your expertise.
And we should mention, too, some of the hosts who've been here creating the excitement of the show every week, folks like Ruth Landsberg, Bishop McCarthy, Valerie Bridgman Davis, Carl Gronberg, Barbara Holmes, Father Michael Sis, just a exciting parade of people who've shared their talents and their interests with the Austin community.
And how they also represent the Austin faith community across denominational lines.
Exactly.
I remember that Bishop McCarthy, in addition to hosting, we were able last year to celebrate his 10th anniversary here as bishop and do some highlights of what's been a very special contribution, not just to the Catholic community, but to the ecumenical one.
Exactly.
And let me just mention a program or two that you've done that I've especially appreciated. I think that you've have done some work with feminist theology.
That was a fun show.
Yeah. Tell us, just remind us a little bit about what stood out.
That was a show in which we talked with a couple of woman theologians here in the Austin area about the work they're doing, the frontiers they're exploring. It was fun for me in part because I only had to ask maybe 4 or 5 questions during the whole show.
Yeah.
There was such excitement and enthusiasm from them that the show flowed very quickly and gave us an opportunity to, in a non-threatening way, explore different ways of looking at each other and approaching the whole notion of God. That was a good show.
Did you notice this little excerpt we had here from Julian of Norwich? How she was talking about God the Mother?
Right.
And the fact that we have a growing consciousness about, of course, God is of no gender, but that particularly appreciative of how feminine theology is enriching the scene today, both locally and worldwide.
And perhaps in a larger sense, Austin Faith Dialogue has done that too, giving the viewers an opportunity to hear people and hear of projects and concerns that they might not have otherwise run across had it not been for our looking for things out on the cutting edge, as it were.
Well, I have to say, Sandy, it's been just a joy to have worked with you over these last several years. And you've brought in a continuity and a dimension to it that was fresh and continues to be, and look forward to continuing to be in association with you.
It is a good partnership. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate that.
And I need to announce for our folks that although this is our last edition on KTBC, and we have to just say that KTBC has made a contribution to this community by providing the studio and the airtime in a way that has enriched not just the religious folks, but everyone in the metropolitan area. So we very much thank you for that. We would like also to let you know that the series will continue on Channel 54, KNVA, at 7:30 Sunday morning time after the first of the year, and that it will continue to be replayed on Channel 11 at 7 o'clock in the evening on Sundays. We have, over the years, made a special effort during holiday time to give play to the arts, to music, to that which is beyond words to describe the joy and the peace of the season. And so we're closing out today's edition with something from 1993. It was the children's choir from Central Presbyterian Church offering a series of songs from the Christmas repertoire that I think will bless us today. And may you be blessed as you go through this season and into the new year and beyond. From those of us at Austin Faith Dialogue, indeed, peace be with you.
We thank you for joining us all these years, and peace be with you and your household.
more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at 472-7627.